This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Very good morning. You're watching News 9. I'm Karthik Malhotra. On the show this morning, the volcanic ash from Ethiopia making its way towards India, disrupting flight schedules. Also on the show, we'll bring you the much-awaited Tata Sierra launch is scheduled for today. We'll tell you all to expect in the car, its nostalgia value, as well as what it offers under the hood and for your wallet. Also on the show, Bitcoin has been crashing. We'll try and get a sense of why is this alternate currency really tanking, even though Donald Trump had made big promises about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And finally, stock markets investors have lost nearly 7 lakh crore rupees in just 2 trading sessions. Asian markets are looking good today, but is there going to be some positive respite for Indian investors too? So that's for you on this edition of Morning Brief at 9. And this is Morning Brief at 9. First up, let's bring you all the headlines that we're tracking for you this Tuesday morning. India and European Union to finalise free trade pact, defence framework and strategic agenda at the January annual summit in New Delhi. India and Afghanistan explore deeper textile trade cooperation as Kabul seeks India's expertise to strengthen its cotton and textile industry. S&P Global projects India's GDP to grow 6.7% next fiscal as strong domestic demand, tax cuts and rate easing keep the economy steady. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra signals scope for further rate cut as inflation hits record low and rupee slides to 89 rupees 49 paisa against the US dollar. Hindustan Unilever unveils Kwality Wall's expansion blueprint ahead of the 2025 demerger as Kwality Wall's India Limited targets to be the #1 in India's fast-growing $4.4 billion ice cream market. Adani Group in advanced talks to acquire Flight Simulation Technique Center, making major expansion into pilot training amid rising demand for skilled aviation crew. Delhi High Court grants interim protection to Tesla, restrains Tesla Power from using its trademarks amid ongoing infringement dispute. India on high alert as rare Ethiopian volcanic eruption sends massive ash cloud drifting towards the subcontinent, prompting DGCA warnings, airline cancellations and heightened monitoring across multiple states. And in news from the stock markets, India set for a record-breaking December as 8 companies line up for IPOs worth over 30,000 crore rupees, with Meesho leading a robust primary market pipeline. Well, India and the European Union are gearing up to strengthen their strategic partnership at the upcoming annual summit in New Delhi on Jan 27th. The two sides are expected to finalize a free trade agreement, a defense framework and a comprehensive strategic agenda. The proposed India-EU Free Trade Pact aims to bring the relationship closer, covering sectors from agriculture to technology, while addressing trade disruptions amid global tariff tensions. While progress has been made on issues like agriculture, market access and alcoholic beverages, negotiations continue on steel, automobiles and the EU's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CABM, popularly referred to as the carbon tax. Now, 12 of the 20 chapters of the agreement have already been concluded, with both sides now engaging continuously to close the remaining 8. Remember, EU Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic is scheduled to visit New Delhi in early December to advance discussions further. Now, the summit comes soon after Russian President Vladimir Putin visits Prime Minister Modi. The summit also coincides with the EU leadership attending India's Republic Day celebrations on Jan 26th. Now, the broader strategic agenda focuses on security and defense, connectivity, prosperity, sustainability and technology. It highlights cooperation on maritime security, cyber defense, counter-terrorism, resilient supply chains, digital innovation and the green transition. It also seeks to expand regional connectivity through initiatives like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor and deeper trilateral engagements. Well, India and Afghanistan are looking to deepen their textile trade partnership, with Kabul showing strong interest in learning from India's experience as the world's second largest cotton producer. The high-level Afghan delegation led by the Director General of Economic Relations met officials from India's Ministry of Textiles in New Delhi on Monday. The Indian side was led by Trade Advisor A. Bipin Menon. Afghanistan outlined its top priorities: strengthening its textile field, creating more jobs and improving training for farmers entering the cotton and textile value chain. Officials said the country wants to tap into India's technical expertise to support its farmers and boost domestic production. India and Afghanistan already share a complementary textile trade relationship. India is the second largest supplier of textiles and apparel to Afghanistan, exporting nearly $69 million worth in 2024. Now, in comparison, Afghanistan imported more than $740 million worth of textiles and apparel globally during the same year, a gap Kabul hopes to narrow by upgrading its own capabilities. Both sides also discussed how to improve cooperation through practical measures, from technical support and farmer training programs to easing shipments and visa processes and encouraging closer ties between industry bodies. And in macroeconomic news, coming just days ahead of India's official announcement of Q2 GDP growth numbers this Friday, India's economy is set to maintain strong momentum, with S&P Global ratings projecting GDP growth of 6.7% in the next financial year. In its latest economic outlook for the Asia-Pacific region, the analytics firm says domestic demand remains the key engine of growth, even as US tariffs on Indian goods affect exports. For the current financial year, S&P expects the economy to expand 6.5%, supported by recent tax cuts and easier monetary policy. The agency notes that India's growth outlook remains balanced, with no major risks of decline at this time. India's real GDP grew, remember, 7.8% in the April to June quarter of FY26, the fastest pace in 5 quarters, reflecting strong consumption and steady investment activity. The government will release GDP numbers for the July to September quarter 2 of this financial year on Friday, November 28th. Now, S&P says a possible trade deal between India and US could further boost investor confidence and support labor-intensive sectors. The report also highlights the positive impact of recent policy measures, from GST reductions to income tax relief for consumers. Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of India has hinted at the possibility of another policy rate cut. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra said there is still room to cut rates even after the 100 basis point reduction earlier this year. He noted that the latest macroeconomic data has not reduced the scope for easing. The central bank has kept rates unchanged since August, but falling inflation may open the door for further cuts. Retail inflation dropped sharply to just 0.25% in the month of October, a record low driven by cheaper food items and tax relief on several consumer goods. But Sanjay Malhotra, the RBI governor, cautioned that it is still unclear whether the committee will act in the upcoming meeting, saying the decision ultimately lies with the rate-setting Monetary Policy Committee. Meanwhile, the Indian rupee slid to a new low of 89 rupees and 49 paisa against the US dollar, and that has raised concerns too. The currency has weakened more than 4% this year, making it one of Asia's worst performers. The RBI governor said the decline is part of the long-term pattern driven mainly by inflation differences. He also added that the RBI does not defend a particular exchange rate and instead focuses on keeping volatility in check so businesses can plan with confidence. And on to some consumer brands now. Hindustan Unilever is gearing up for the demerger of its ice cream business Kwality Walls India Limited, with the split set to take effect on December 1st this year. Now, ahead of that move, HUL has laid out an ambitious blueprint for Kwality Walls to dominate India's booming ice cream market, which is expected to jump from about $2.6 billion to $4.4 billion by 2030. Kwality Wall says India is massively underpenetrated. Out of 13 million retail stores, only about 1.2 million sell ice cream, and Kwality Walls is present in just 2 lakh of them. That leaves massive room for expansion, especially as refrigerator ownership rises and per capita consumption remains far below global averages. Now, to become India's #1 ice cream company, Kwality Walls is pushing a 4-pronged strategy. A sharper focus on key snacking price points between 10 rupees and 50 rupees, a massive ramp-up of its freezer network across millions of stores, then there's premiumization of global brands like Magnum, Ben & Jerry's and Breyers coming into India, and finally a strong push into quick commerce, which already accounts for more than 10% of its business. The company has faced margin pressure this year, with EBITDA slipping to 4.5% due to cost inflation and higher investments. But Kwality Wall says margins will recover from 2026, driven by premium products, better procurement and supply chain efficiencies. The parent company HUL, meanwhile, says the demerger will give Kwality Walls the independence and focus needed to unlock its full potential in one of India's fastest growing consumer categories. And another corporate news this morning, the Adani Group is closing in on its first major move into the pilot training business. Its defense and aerospace arm is reportedly in advanced talks to acquire Flight Simulation Techniques Center, or FSTC. According to reports, the deal, if sealed, will further boost the conglomerate's acquisition-led expansion strategy. Now, FSTC, founded in 2012, runs 4 simulator centers across Gurugram, Hyderabad and Mumbai, along with multiple flight training academies in Haryana, Surat and Solapur. The buyout is expected to take place through Horizon Aero Solutions, a 50-50 joint venture between Adani Defense Systems and Technologies and Prime Agro. Adani has been rapidly building its aerospace presence, picking up stakes in Airworks and in Dammer Techniques over the past year, with nearly 5,000 crore rupees already invested in the sector and plans to triple that. The group is now eyeing rising demand for trained cockpit crew as defense needs surge and commercial aviation in India expands. Another corporate news, especially on the cusp of consumer products. Well, Tata Motors is all set to reintroduce one of its most iconic SUVs with the all-new Tata Sierra, scheduled to make its official debut today. Nupur Praveen is here to tell us all what to expect from this new launch. Nupur, take it away.
Good morning, Karthik, and a very good morning to especially all the car lovers out there who've been very patiently waiting for the launch, or I'd say a grand comeback of Tata Sierra. Yes, it's the same Sierra that hits, that was a bit of an icon in the 1990s, and today it has been reimagined in a new era for 2025. Tata Motors is bringing Tata Sierra in 2025, and all the price details and official launch will happen in a short while from now. Remember, Tata Motors had first showcased Tata Sierra at the Bharat Mobility Expo in January 2025, and later also at a production event called the Sierra event later in the year. Today it's going to officially launch, and throughout the year Tata has been able to constantly put out teasers and visuals and glimpses of what the actual product is going to look like. But before we go to the official event, which will happen in a short while from now, let us tell you everything that you can expect from this launch, because Tata is, remember, it is coming out in the most crowded, the most competitive, the most heated automobile segment currently in India, which is the compact SUV. So let's begin first. We'll take you down the memory lane. Let's talk a bit about nostalgia. So, you know, Tata Sierra actually first launched back in the 1990s, and back then it was, you know, it was a car that everybody just remembered. It's primarily because, you know, it had those, it looked different, right? It was stylish, it had those something which has a recall value, those long, huge back glass, which almost looked like, which gave us a safari view of sorts. And I think that is what Tata has been very smart in cashing today. It has tried to get the retro charm of the initial Sierra version and combine it with, of course, the modern facilities and bring to you a model that might be very tempting in a fiercely competitive segment, which is the compact SUVs. So let me tell you what exactly you know, it looks like from the exteriors. First, it has light LED lights, which obviously looks stylish. Then you've got big 19-inch alloy wheels, which if you actually look at it, it actually makes its presence felt. Then there is the signature glass outside, which the side panel, which is a nod to the past original Sierra version. If we move forward, we've also got upright tailgate with connected LED rear lamps. All of this giving the car a very premier feel. If we move ahead, we've also got, and you see the colors also, right? It's so beautiful. I will tell you, I would actually ask the viewers to take a look at the colors. These are the 6 color options that Tata Sierra is actually giving. The first one is called Bengal Rose, then it is Coorg Clouds. The next one is Munnar Mist. The other one is Pristine White. The next one is Pure Grey. And the other one is Andaman Adventures. Now you see, Tata, the marketing attempt here is probably that they've tried to cover all the landscapes and moods across India to try to tap all the emotions. If we go ahead and we see what the car actually looks like, they've got, now it is one of the most promising bets that most people are talking about. It is the 3 big screens that will be available in the car. So one will be for the driver, of course. The other one will be the center screen for infotainment. And they've got another screen for the co-passenger, which is something new. Then, of course, the fancy panoramic sunroof that everybody likes. It gives you that premium feel. Then you've got the usual comfort features, JBL speakers. You've got ventilated seats as well. Now, because it is Tata Motors, we know the brand is known for its safety purpose, right? They are known to prioritize safety. So you've got 6 airbags, then there is a 360-degree camera, which is great help for parking as well. Then you've got the auto braking and the lane assist as well, which is also called ADAS. And then we move ahead. Let me talk about the engine now. How strong is it? So you've got 2 options here, which we know for now, as of now. One is the 1.5-liter turbo petrol, which obviously is going to be more powerful and good for, say, city travel. The other one is the 1.5-liter diesel model, which is good for long distance traveling. It is more fuel efficient, will give you better mileage. And now for the in terms of your options for driving, you've got manual and automatic options as well. Both is available. If we move forward, now, a lot of people are actually looking to buy EVs. So for them, it's a good news because Tata is very likely to also introduce the EV version of Sierra soon. So all of you who are looking to buy EV, watch out for that announcement. If we move ahead, we talk about how the price range is, which is the most crucial aspect, right? So Tata is most likely to bring, the exact price range will be out shortly, but most likely it's going to be between 12 lakh to 20 to 25 lakh price range, which is the ex-showroom price. Now this wide range is also because there'll be multiple versions, right? So from the basic model, as you upgrade to the most advanced model, the price range is likely to increase, but it will be somewhere around 22 to 25 lakh. The exact prices will be noted shortly. So exactly the pricing is going to come today in a short while from now. Now, it's also interesting to know that because it is Tata is coming in the compact SUV range, it is going to be fighting some big rivals, right? It is going to be fighting the biggest SUVs which are already out there in the market. So you've got the likes of Creta, there's Maruti Suzuki, you've got Seltos, you've got Vitara, you've got Brezza. There are several options there already in the market which are quite popular. So you see Tata has to fight this this big crowded market to find its space, and that is probably the ambition that Tata is coming with. And now why Sierra matters. So you see, if you are somebody like me who's looking to or planning to buy a compact SUV, so to say, then you've got one more option on the table, right? And it is a strong option at that. And also you need to understand, this is a big moment for Tata right now, for its especially for its SUV strategy, because it is a moment for Tata to not just talk about its technological prowess, but also talk about its evolution story, right? It is an old brand that has been trusted for years, and today it is something it is trying to charter a new territory, trying to get into a domain where there are big stalwarts. So it'll be interesting to see how Tata eventually, gets its way here. And also, early official bookings are already underway, exactly like we told you. So the final announcement, the official launch is going to happen soon. And I think the bottom line here is, Karthik, that if Tata is able to hit that sweet spot, I think in terms of getting the pricing right, then I feel Sierra can very well come out to be one of the most interesting SUVs of 2025.
All right, Nupur Praveen, thank you so much for that very, very detailed, fantastic explanation. And I think one is definitely very, very intrigued by the ad, which is also playing on the wall right now. A pretty similar version of the Tata Sierra 1990s ad with the horses racing. And then you had the car sort of overtaking those horses. We pretty much have exactly the same momentum, the same nostalgia still going strong. But for today, thank you so much, Nupur Praveen, for that excellent explainer. And moving on now, the Delhi High Court has granted interim protection to Elon Musk's Tesla Inc. in its trademark infringement case against the Gurugram-based Tesla Power India. The court has barred Tesla Power from using Tesla's name, logo or any similar branding in any form until the case is decided. Now, Justice Tejas Karia's order specifically restrains the company from advertising or selling products including automotive batteries, UPS systems or lithium-ion batteries under the disputed Tesla label, whether online, offline or through e-commerce platforms. The direction comes after Tesla Power itself told the court in June that it had no intention of infringing on the US EV maker's trademark after mediation efforts between the two sides failed. Remember, Tesla Inc. first sued the Indian company in May 2024, accusing it of misleading consumers by implying a connection with Tesla's electric vehicles at the time when the American EV giant was preparing to enter the Indian market. And aviation authorities in India are on high alert after a rare volcanic eruption in Ethiopia has triggered massive ash plumes drifting across the region. Now, the DGCA has issued an advisory to all airlines and airports warning of potential flight disruptions as the ash cloud from the Hayil Gubi volcano continues to spread. Airlines including Akasa Air, Indigo and KLM have already cancelled several flights, citing safety concerns. The volcano erupted for the first time in more than 10,000 years, sending a dense ash column into the atmosphere. Weather agencies say the cloud is now drifting towards the Indian subcontinent with possible impact over Gujarat, Maharashtra, Haryana, Delhi, Rajasthan, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Authorities are closely monitoring the situation, assessing risks to flight paths and preparing for further operational adjustments if needed. And time for a short break, but it seems yet again, third day running, markets seem to be in the red this morning. Amrish Baliga will be here to tell us what to expect in days ahead. Even as you're seeing, Asian markets are doing reasonably well this morning. We'll get you all the market updates on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कर आता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
गजब का है दिन, सोचो जरा।
A resurgent India is racing towards the Viksit Bharat goal, braving global economic headwinds. Bulletproofing our economy from these uncertainties are Bharat's homegrown businesses. Powered by tech-led innovation, Indian entrepreneurs are truly scaling up, riding the next wave of disruption with AI and cloud to break into the big global league. TV9 Network in association with SAP presents Visionaries of Viksit Bharat, a series celebrating inspirational business leaders shaping tomorrow. Watch them take an iconic leap at Visionaries of Viksit Bharat conclaves. Exclusively on News 9.
आराम से सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो पिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना, कहाँ गई पर्ची?
नमस्ते
जी
हाँ, मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हील चेयर, ये आपका और ये
हाँ।
आपका। पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है?
टिफिन लाया।
थैंक यू।
अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
यही मौका है बिजनेस को बढ़ाने का, पर पैसा।
अपनी सुपर पावर यूज करने का टाइम आ गया है।
आप टेंशन मत लीजिए, IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
आपके जैसे सुपर हीरोज ऐसी छोटी मोटी प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी ना रुकते हैं, इसीलिए लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे तो अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
Welcome back. You're watching News 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. Let's bring you an update on all the action from the Lal Street. But before that, it seems that Asian markets are really rejoicing in the glory of the potential meet between US President Donald Trump and Chinese Premier Xi Jinping in the month of April. In fact, Donald Trump, calling the relationship extremely strong, has really played well on Asian markets this morning, which are also taking cue from the rally, of course, in Wall Street. And, of course, AI stocks, especially the Magnificent Seven and the tech stocks on Nasdaq, doing exceedingly well in trade yesterday. So as things stand right now, barring Japan, which had also opened very handsomely in the green this morning and is now trading absolutely flat, almost no change between yesterday's closing and this point of time in the markets. All other Asian markets are doing well this morning, India being a minor exception. We'll come to India in just a bit, but South Korea's Kospi is up about 0.5%. Shanghai Composite Index is up more than 1%, in fact 1.1% right now. So is the case with Taiwan's TAIEX, which is up more than 1% or so in trade. So the mood on Asian peers to India looks absolutely refreshing this morning. But India, on the other side, not really performing this well. In fact, markets have opened absolutely flat after yesterday's last few minutes of market trading resulted in the market finally slipping in red and closing in the red. But as things stand right now, it's a flat open, but a flat red anyways. So that's the mood on markets right now. It seems that Nifty 50 is finding it difficult to breach that 26,000 level again. In fact, it closed below that level yesterday and continues to be below that psychological 26,000 level. So is the case with Sensex. Sensex is well below about 150 points short of that 85,000 psychological mark. Let's look at the Nifty 50 heat map now and see which are the sectors which are leading the pain this morning. And that pain seems to be coming mostly from the BFSI space and a little bit from the consumer non-durable space as well. So these are the two sectors which are in the red this morning. But better news coming from the energy space with Reliance Industries up more than 1% or so in trade. Amrish Baliga is here to help us understand and decode what to expect from markets, because it seems, Mr. Baliga, that the bulls are a little guarded. There are days, there are moments within days that the bulls seem to be taking charge, and then the sentiment just changes immediately thereafter. What are you expecting from the mood on markets right now?
See, as far as the Nifty is concerned, I mean, at the broader end, I think 26,000 is a very difficult resistance level to cross technically.
Right.
When we say, I mean, difficult to cross, I would you normally keep about 1% sort of a margin. So it goes to 26,200 levels, slightly higher than that. We have seen closer to all-time highs, but it doesn't cross that.
Right.
And I think the story is somewhere else, because we have seen the markets close to all-time highs, but most of the portfolios are bleeding.
Right.
That's because the retail and the HNIs have mostly invested in the small caps and the mid caps.
Right.
And that's where, I mean, the losses are huge as of now. And in the last couple of months, we have seen quite a few of them losing 20, 30, I mean, even 50% or more in some cases. So because of which the portfolios are bleeding. So because of which, I mean, if that continues for a while longer, maybe a month or 2 months more, you will actually start seeing liquidity slowing down. But then if you look at the macros, you look at the Q2 earnings were better than what most of us had expected. Macro numbers continue to be good. So I think the market requires that one big trigger. And that one big trigger could be the US-India trade treaty, which again people were expecting by end of November. Now it seems like it's getting delayed. I think this is what is playing on the markets for the time being, because of which we are seeing that weakness. But once that comes in, I think we will see another good rally, which possibly could take us to new highs, and that could see the small cap and the mid caps again possibly outperforming.
Right. Of course, there is valuation concern in the mid-cap and the small-cap space that you are talking about, Mr. Baliga. But there are also mixed views coming from the US on the final decision of the Fed to go ahead and cut rates or not cut rates. And of course, there is also this theory of the AI bubble, for which again, there are days that you see US stocks performing really well, and there are days you see massive corrections. So even on the global side, there seems to be some sort of uncertainty which could potentially not give direction to investors. And that story continues to weigh in on India as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, in fact, that is also weighing on India, but thankfully the sort of AI bubble which everyone has been talking about was expected to burst any time. But then, I mean, the sort of earnings which came from NVIDIA, I think that has delayed that at least by a quarter or more.
Okay.
So I think, I mean, we'll have to keep a close watch when the December earnings are announced, which should be sometime by February.
Right.
That's a time, I mean, we could see some issue as far as the AI space is concerned. But leaving that aside, like I said, in case we have the treaty falling in place, I think Indian markets can perform. Otherwise, one will have to wait for the sort of Q3 numbers, which again, I expect them to be decent.
Right.
And possibly a positive surprise because the way...
Because of the GST cuts.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, the whole consumption story, I think, should play out in Q3.
Right.
And that, I mean, we should see that in black and white in the earnings of Q3.
Absolutely. And what are the growth figures for Q2, the GDP numbers being factored in right now? Because S&P, of course, has given a bullish sentiment. In fact, annual growth expected at 6.5%. But overall, there seems to be a good sort of expectation from the Q2 GDP numbers, which are expected to be released on Friday. So have markets already priced in? No surprises, no shocks there?
No, I mean, when we see that in black and white, possibly we could see some reaction because we've seen the markets overall being weak for the last couple of days. So, I mean, in case it's a positive surprise, you can see a bump up.
All right. We may see a bump up if there's a positive surprise on GDP numbers. I also want to talk to you this morning about Asian stocks, and Asian stocks seem to be doing much better, in fact outperforming India when it comes to news, especially between US President Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, who are expected to meet in April. And we are seeing a massive reaction of that on the Chinese markets this morning. And then, of course, the Wall Street knock-on effect on rest of Asia seems to be a lot stronger than on India. So why do you see that sort of decoupling that India has with rest of Asia this morning?
No, I mean, in addition to the reasons which I just discussed, I think the other major factor could be the liquidity being sucked out by the IPOs. I mean, we have had huge number of IPOs in the recent past.
Yeah.
And I mean, a decent amount of liquidity has been sucked out by these IPOs. So
Right.
I think that's also playing out on the market.
All right. And of course, there is more IPO rush, about 30,000 crore rupees worth of IPOs again lined up for the month of December. Is there going to be more sucking out of liquidity? And is that going to again sort of keep Indian markets in a more guarded space?
Absolutely, because on one side you have liquidity being sucked out, and on the other side, when you have portfolios bleeding, I mean it's typically it's the psychology which plays out that when my portfolio is bleeding, I'll not possibly invest fresh, and that's exactly what is playing out. I mean across retail and the HNI space.
All right, Mr. Baliga, thank you so much for your input and for adding clarity to this fairly confused state that one sort of finds every morning charts when they look at them and themselves in. So thank you so much for adding that little dose of clarity for all our viewers this morning. And talking about that IPO rush, well, India's primary market is gearing up for what could be its busiest December ever. 8 companies are preparing to launch IPOs worth over 30,000 crore rupees by the end of December. Now, if all issues hit the market as planned, December 2025 could even surpass the previous record set last year, when 15 IPOs together raised more than 25,400 crore rupees. The lineup features a strong mix of tech, manufacturing, consumer-facing firms, including Meesho, CleanMax Enviro Energy Solutions, Fractal Analytics, Milky Mist Dairy Food, Skywalks Air Services, Corona Remedies, and Aquas Limited. The momentum is also building around ICICI Prudential AMC, which is close to receiving SEBI approval for its public listing. Now, Bloomberg reports that parent company Prudential PLC is considering raising up to $300 million through a pre-IPO share replacement, with a final call expected once regulators give the green light. But the biggest IPO in this busy lineup is that of Meesho. The e-commerce platform is targeting an early December launch after confidentially filing its draft papers in July. It's eyeing a post-money valuation of about 5.9 billion, or roughly 52,500 crore rupees, with an issue size estimated at around 6,000 crore rupees. And moving on now, cryptocurrencies are usually looked at as a barometer of the risk appetite of investors. Their slide highlights how fragile the mood in the crypto market has turned out to be in recent days, with high-flying tech and AI stocks tumbling and market volatility spiking. Now, Bitcoin has dropped to just under $80,000 rupees. In fact, this morning trading at 78,100 odd levels from a high of as much as 110,300 odd levels in early October this year. Now, the sharp pullback from its early October highs has wiped out a sizable portion of this year's gain, according to Deutsche Bank, with the retreat reflecting a mix of macro and market-specific activity. Well, I have my colleague Amit Ranjan here taking us through what exactly to expect and what has been the sort of volatility in the crypto market, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. Amit, take it away and tell us, how has Bitcoin performed first over the year, and what are the reasons leading to its crash right now?
Thank you, Karthik. As you said, $1.2 trillion of market value in cryptocurrency wiped out in just over a month. We'll just go through how volatile it has been and how it has gone up and come down. Around 1 year ago, before President Donald Trump was sworn in, won the election, 13th September, it was at the 48 lakh levels. This is in Indian rupees. At the time President Donald Trump won the election, it rose to 83 lakh levels, rising further to 84 lakh levels in December. When he was sworn in, it went to 90 lakh levels. This is Indian rupees again. Then came the tariff announcement in April, slid down to 70 lakh levels. But the big peak was just about a month ago on the 7th of October, when it was 1.1 lakh levels, in Indian rupees. And post that, almost a 30% slide to around 78 lakh levels as of yesterday. We'll move on to the reasons now. Let's move on to the next slide. The first reason is the impact of Wall Street. Now, there's a big correlation, as we have seen, between bitcoins and cryptocurrency and the Wall Street. 46% correlation to NASDAQ, and NASDAQ stocks mostly in the last few months have been on the downslide, whether it's the Magnificent Seven or it's the AMDs or Palantirs or on semiconductors. 42% correlation to S&P 500. So that correlation and the market volatility has given the sentiment to cryptocurrencies also. US monetary policy. Even though there was a 25 basis points hike in October, the moment Chair Jerome Powell said that a December cut is not a foregone conclusion, Bitcoin has gone down 1.22%. Low liquidity because of the sellout, big tech stocks and AI stocks, people have been cashing out. And that mostly also the long-term investors, that is profit booking, almost 800,000 BTCs were sold in the last 1 month, which is the highest since January of 2024. That's almost 2 years ago. And lastly is the regulatory framework. Now, there is a stalling of the Clarity Act, which will basically regulate the digital assets in the US, and that too has contributed to the sentiments where Bitcoin is going. So it is a volatile space, and it is on the downslide as we speak also.
All right, Amit Ranjan Kumar, thank you so much for that input. And one only can guess at this moment where Bitcoin prices go from here, because that, remember, is one asset class. Cryptocurrency is one asset class that doesn't have any underlying value. So which side it goes up or down is something that nobody really can predict at the moment. Well, before we slip into another break, let's quickly look at the other global headlines that we're tracking for you this morning. US President Donald Trump says relations with China are back on solid footing, confirms April visit to Beijing after an unannounced call with President Xi Jinping, who reaffirmed Taiwan's return to China as non-negotiable. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says European Union that Washington won't cut steel and aluminium tariffs unless Brussels rewrites part of its digital regulation framework. The Trump administration scraps temporary protected status of nearly 4,000 Myanmar nationals, ending years of deportation protections. Impact of the prolonged US government shutdown stalls yet another key economic indicator, leaving the world's largest economy without its advanced Q3 growth reading. US stocks rally sharply as investors bet the Fed is edging closer to interest rate cuts after last week's volatility tied to AI bubble fears. United States reportedly puts pressure on Ukraine to sign on to its proposed end war framework despite Kyiv's objections that the plan gives too much to Moscow. Meanwhile, Russia dismisses European Union's alternative to the 28-point US peace proposal, signaling no breakthrough in completing framework for ending the Ukraine war. European and African leaders gather in Angola for a summit to deepen economic and security ties that also presented the chance of emergency talks on Ukraine. And in stories from Big Tech, US court filings reveal Meta stopped internal research after early findings suggested Facebook may be damaging teens' mental health, fueling a growing legal and public backlash. These stories on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
What is speed? Do you ever see it? Or is it something you feel? Speed, it's relative. The more you speed up, the the more the world slows down. And when you are fast enough, everything becomes still. That's when you see the world as it truly is. Servo Hypersport F5. When speed is your default.
जी, आपने भारत कनेक्ट का नाम सुना है?
शादी वादी कराएं क्या?
शादी नहीं, 5 लाख एजेंट्स की मदद से बिल पेमेंट्स पॉसिबल बनाते हैं।
ओ,
जैसे अभी किया।
शाबाश।
आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते जरूर हैं। हम हैं भारत कनेक्ट।
Eastern India's first Business and Economy Literature Fest 2025 on 20th and 21st December at Taj Tal Kutir, Kolkata.
EIILM presents Business and Economy Literature Fest. Curation and Aviation Partner, Story Nest. Knowledge Partner, Penguin. And Industry Partner, the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
आराम से हाँ। सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो पिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना, कहाँ गई पर्ची?
नमस्ते
जी।
हाँ? मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हील चेयर, ये आपका और ये आपका। पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है? टिफिन
थैंक यू।
अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Welcome back. You're watching News 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. Let's now move to stories from around the world and start with the extremely warm relations developing between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. That's right. US President Donald Trump on Monday said America's relationship with China is extremely strong after an unannounced phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Now, Beijing said President Xi Jinping used the call to underline that Taiwan's return to China remains central to its worldview, a message delivered as China faces a tense diplomatic standoff with strong US ally Japan over the island. Now, the Trump-Xi Jinping conversation comes weeks after both leaders met in South Korea and agreed on a framework for a trade truce that still needs final approval. Now, Trump also stated in a social media post that he has accepted the Chinese president's invitation to visit Beijing in April, with a return visit by Xi Jinping planned later next year. Well, the White House says President Donald Trump is satisfied with recent U.S. strikes on suspected drug trafficking boats and that the operations will continue. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the comments on Monday as Washington escalated pressure on Venezuela. Venezuela dismissed the designation, calling the alleged cartel non-existent and the U.S. action ridiculous.
I'm not going to broadcast any actions that may or may not be happening with respect to Venezuela. I know I've been very clear about the administration's position, as has the president and his national security team. We view the Maduro regime as being illegitimate, and the president has been very satisfied with the successful strikes against narco-terrorists and foreign terrorists that are illegally trafficking drugs towards the United States of America. He's not going to tolerate that, and you can expect to see those strikes continue.
And US President Donald Trump campaigned on bringing down the high prices that Americans struggled with under Joe Biden. But guess what? Frustration is now growing as many US citizens say living costs remain painful, pushing families to food pantries to get by. Take a look.
67-year-old Gail Heathcote of Chicago is scouring the grocery store for deals and tells Reuters she is struggling to feed her family.
I worked my whole life. For what? For me to be still struggling?
She's putting the blame on President Donald Trump, saying the cost of living has become unbearable.
Prices are ridiculous. And that man that's up there in that White House needs to go. He's killing us. I want him to come and live in my house for 1 week and see how we eat.
Trump campaigned on a pledge to lower consumer prices, but is now facing the same hard reality that dogged his predecessor, Joe Biden. In recent weeks, Trump has touted lower prices.
And eggs are way down now. We're getting prices down for this country.
While inflation is down, goods that are subject to Trump's tariffs in particular cost more than before, and wage gains for many have been largely offset by higher prices. The latest Consumer Price Index data from September shows a nearly 15% increase in the price of beef, a 7% increase for bananas, and more than 20% for coffee. Higher prices have forced Heathcote to turn to door dashing for extra income.
A lot of my customers are saying, "Why are you out here? Now, let's go for some beans."
The great-grandmother relies on pantries to put food on the table.
It's breaking me. How many other people are out there that need this food and they're here? I saw a lady here with a newborn baby.
More people are coming to our pantries.
Marie Jokum from the Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago says demand at this pantry has risen sharply in recent months.
We're having more first-time recipients. So right now we're seeing a 20% increase in people coming for the first time to a pantry.
29-year-old Devontae Conwell is one of them.
I had to find a pantry because, food is coming up so expensive. And I got a family to take care of, man. There's too many bills coming in.
Food costs have become a major political issue as Thanksgiving nears following a record-long government shutdown. The American Farm Bureau Federation estimates it will cost 5% less this year than in 2024, thanks to steep discounts for turkeys. But that tally is still 13% more than in 2019, during Trump's first term and before the pandemic. Half of Thanksgiving dinner's other foods, including sweet potatoes, frozen peas, and a fresh vegetable tray appetizer, cost more than in 2024.
Right, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, visiting Brussels for the first time since taking office, told EU officials that Washington expects changes to Europe's digital regulations before it considers lowering U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminium. Listen in.
Our suggestion is that the European Union and their trade ministers deeply consider trying to analyze their digital rules, try to come away with a balance, not put them away, but find the balanced approach that works with us. And if they can come up with that balanced approach, which I think they can, then we will, together with them, handle the steel and aluminum issues and bring that on together. So that is on the table.
And globally, Unilever's ice cream business Magnum is gearing up for a multi-billion-dollar spin-off next month with its December 8th listing in Amsterdam. Company executives say the standalone unit will face fresh pressures from logistics to rising demand for weight loss drugs. Take a look.
Magnum is bracing for life on its own. Unilever's ice cream business is gearing up for its multi-billion-dollar spin-off next month. The Magnum ice cream company's December the 8th listing in Amsterdam will test investor appetite for a sugar-heavy product. That's at a time when GLP-1 weight loss drugs have shaken up consumer trends. It's positioning itself as an ice cream-focused business and betting on the draw of indulgent snacks consumers still crave. That includes its Magnum ice creams as well as brands like Solero, Viennetta and Ben & Jerry's. The firm says it's ready for the challenges of going solo. Sandeep Desai is Magnum's chief supply chain officer.
We are focused on ice cream and ice cream only. Everyone wakes up thinking, how can I make more ice cream? How can I sell more ice cream? And that gives a very different level of focus. That level of focus brings, I think, a sharper expertise to the table.
The firm is investing $66 million in its factory in Gloucester, West England. And while acknowledging that GLP-1 drugs may affect business, it's optimistic about long-term demand. Magnum says it's adding products more focused on hydration and protein. Jamie Farrell, the company's head of UK and Ireland, pointed to lower sugar options and smaller portions Magnum has already developed.
We see it as a challenge, really. Can we create new products or more new products that move with the times, work within regulations, work with government to help form regulations and deliver consumers a product that they need in the future.
The Gloucester plant investment is part of an up to $438 million programme to revamp the company's supply chain as it splits from Unilever. It's due to raise capacity in 2027 by half from levels seen 2 years ago. The factory currently produces 600 million ice creams a year.
And with that, we come to an end of this edition of Morning Brief at 9. If you have been, thank you so much for watching. But news continues right here on Newsline, so do stay tuned.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence.